Hey guys, welcome to Crazy Burger. So in this video I'm going to be looking at my 7 least played Evercade cartridges. What are they? Let's find out. Okay guys, so in this video I'm going to be looking at 7 carts from Evercade that I haven't really played at all, apart from maybe making some content for videos. I haven't put any time into them, and in this video I'll be going through them all, giving my reasons why I haven't really played them. So let's get started with the first collection. Okay guys, so the first collection that I haven't really put much time into is Technos Collection 1. This is cart number 10. Now interestingly enough, this is obviously a legacy collection which sells for a lot on eBay, so I really probably should sell it. I just haven't played it. There's 8 games on it and it's mostly Double Dragon games. And I've never been a Double Dragon fan at any point. First got it on the C64, probably one of the first games I played. Didn't really like it, it was a terrible conversion. Now admittedly the NES versions are actually pretty good, but I still don't like the games. I think there's far better beat 'em ups out there. We've got River City Ransom, which is probably the better game for me. We've got Super Dodgeball, which I think is absolutely terrible. We've got Super Spike Volleyball, Renegade, and Crash Boys Street Challenge, which I think is terrible as well. But honestly, I know there's a lot of people like these games, but personally I've just never really liked Double Dragon much at all. I just don't think they're that great. Maybe the arcade versions are slightly better, but they are a lot harder to actually play through, and I haven't really touched this cart at all, which is probably a massive shame. I know it's a lot of people's favourites and a lot of people have probably played this loads, but for me, I've just not played it at all, and it's certainly one of the carts, certainly one of my least favourite carts for that reason, but I know a lot of people love it. But anyway, let's move on to the second collection. Okay, so the second collection won't be a huge surprise to many people, but it's this one, Worms Collection 1. Now I'm not saying that these are bad games. On Evercade, when we first got this, it was only on the handheld, which didn't make any sense whatsoever. On the VS it's probably a lot better, where you can play multiplayer obviously, and there's some good games. Like Worms Armageddon is actually pretty decent on PlayStation, but you really need to play on the VS and with friends. As a handheld experience, it's really not good at all. This was cart number 18 and it only had 3 games. The Worms Blast Game Boy Advance game I thought was terrible. The original Worms on the Mega Drive isn't really that great either. Even with friends I don't think it's amazing, but Worms Armageddon definitely is the standout game here. But ideally, like I said, you need to play it on the VS and with, ideally, playing with 2 or 3, 4 people maybe. And it probably comes into a whole different light, and that's where the fun's at. But as a single player experience, I just don't think this is a particularly great cart. They could have added so many other games to this. And obviously we got more Worms as part of the sort of Team 17 collection. But for me, this isn't a great collection at all. It's just not great value for money. Okay, another collection that might actually surprise a lot of people that I've put on my list is this one, Codemasters Collection 1. Now, I didn't really rate this massively or highly at the time. It obviously has a lot of games, 17 games, and for me it was more like quantity over quality. Now, undoubtedly, the 2 best games are Sensible Soccer and Cannon Fodder. 2 amazing games, not original Codemasters games. They obviously bought the rights sometime after they were launched from Sensible Software, but the rest of the games I really haven't touched. I mean, I have played a little bit of CJ's Elegant Antics, which I quite enjoyed, but the rest of the games I really haven't touched much at all. Haven't really enjoyed them. Played a little bit of Psycho Pinball, which is probably quite good, but the rest, not really. Now, one of the reasons why I've not touched this cart is that back in the day I played so much Sensible Soccer and Cannon Fodder as well that I just couldn't bring myself back to playing them that often again. Back in the day I used to spend a lot of time reconfiguring all the names in Sensible Soccer and changing all that. I mean, you'd probably spend hours upon hours changing all the names of the fake players into real players, or even just put your own names in. And Cannon Fodder was a classic too, but I played it so much on the Mega Drive that I really had no desire to play them again on Evercade. Massive shame, because 2 great games, but overall it's a collection I've never really put much time into at all. That doesn't mean it's a bad collection at all, but I just haven't played it. Okay, next up is the Gremlin Collection 1. Probably quite a poor collection really. I think there's a lot of games we could have had that we never did get. Only 6 games, and arguably you could probably say there's only one decent game here. Zool is probably the one I've played most. The rest I haven't really touched. Actua Soccer is okay, but I just don't think it's a particularly great game. Utopia is one of those ones you have to put a lot of time into. Premier Manager is the same. Now, I had Premier Manager back in the day on the Mega Drive. I just don't think it's a particularly great management game. It's a little bit boring. It's a bit tricky to understand, and I just didn't have the desire to put some time into it. Hardcore 4x4, it's not the greatest. And Brainbender is no fun at all. And overall, it just isn't a particularly great collection, and it's probably one of my least favourite carts, and obviously one of my least played carts as well. Okay, next up, this probably won't surprise anyone, probably the worst cart on Evercade, and Television Collection 2, and obviously it's the worst cart. I haven't really put any time into it. There's 12 games. It was a collection that we didn't really need. Yes, Cloudy Mountain and Tower of Doom are probably the standout games, and a lot of fans out there for those, but the rest I don't think are that great or even worth bothering with. If you have nostalgia for these games, that might be a little bit different to you, but personally I thought the controls were poorly put together for these games. I just didn't think it worked. I thought Blaze made a bit of a shoddy effort in some of the titles here. Sorry Blaze, but I just felt if you look at auto racing, it really isn't well done at all. Admittedly, this is how the game was originally on Intellivision, but I just don't think enough effort was put into the Evercade versions here. Certainly Cloudy Mountain and Tower of Doom are the 2 games probably worth buying this cart for. But there was no reason why we couldn't have put them on Intellivision Collection 1 in the first place, and it would have made that one an even better collection. If you're going to buy Intellivision, go and buy the first collection, just avoid the second one. Okay, so this might surprise a lot of people because this is Pico Collection 3, and it's one of those carts I've just never really touched much at all. And it's one I'm definitely trying to go back to because it's got some reasonably decent games. It's not really a bad collection at all. It's not an outstanding collection. It's got 10 games. It's half the number of games that was on Pico Collection 1. There's some reasonable decent games. 40 Winks is okay. It's worth playing, I guess. Zero Tolerance is kind of fun. But the rest of the games I just could not get into at all. Radical Bikers was probably pretty good to play, but it does seem quite light. Sword of Sodan is just terrible. Motor City Patrol was terrible. Super Bubble Pop is okay. Metal Mech Man Machine is okay, but totally weird. Not sure what to do. Stanley the Search of Dr. Livingston, it's a bit clunky. Legend of Wukong, that's okay. Punch King, it's alright for 5 minutes. Personally, I just don't think overall it's an amazing collection. It's alright, but just not amazing. Maybe worth playing for 1 or 2 games, but it's just one of those collections I think that got lost amongst all the other releases at the time, and I just didn't get round to playing it, which is a little bit sad, I guess, but it is what it is, and it's one of those collections I might come back to and maybe explore at some point, but at the moment I really haven't played it much at all. Okay, and the final collection is probably going to surprise a heck of a lot of people. And when I reviewed this at the time, I kind of thought it was okay. It wasn't really my cup of tea, I admit that, and I know a lot of folks out there have absolutely loved these titles. So I'm not saying these are bad games, because they certainly are not bad games. They're just really not for me. I didn't really get a lot of enjoyment out of the frustration and the sort of grind in some of the games as well, and the gaming mechanics. But anyway, they're 2 reasonably decent games, but just like I said, not for me, and I've just not put any time into it at all. Got Demons of Asteborg and Asti Bros. Similar-ish style games. Asti Bros seemed a little bit grindy to me, and I just wasn't enjoying that experience. Demons of Asteborg was okay, but it got a little bit frustrating for me. And combined, I'm not really sure it's worth being a 2-game cart. I think it's one of those ones I think you probably need to have a lot more games on this. But anyway, it is what it is. I know a lot of people have been raving about these games and totally enjoyed them, which is totally fine. But for me, I just haven't enjoyed it. I do plan on going back to it. Much like Pico Collection 3, I have got plans to try and revisit it and see if I can get more enjoyment out of it. But anyway, that is what it is. That's just one of those things. It got lost in amongst all those other carts that got released at the time, like Good Boy Galaxy, Witch and Whiz, and the 2 Duke Nukem cartridges. I put more time into them than this cart, which is obviously a bit of a shame. But anyway guys, that's my 7 picks, 7 carts and collections that I haven't really played much at all. Which is maybe a little bit of a shame, a bit weird, but it is what it is. What carts and games have you not played, guys? Let me know. What do you think of my selections? There's no really any right or wrong answers here. It's really just an opinion at the end of the day. Thanks very much for watching. We'll catch you again in the next one. Bye for now.